I hated the skirt. It was such a comfortable fabric to sew with. French seams everywhere. Hi, welcome back to my channel La Fraise. I'm Noémie and I'm a costume making student here in Brussels, and this week I'm sharing with you everything I've sewn in autumn and my winter sewing plans with you guys. I'm not gonna lie, energy is very low. I feel like I did the last one of those videos, roundup of everything I made, about a lifetime ago and yeah, just forgive me if you think I'm a bit off. It's clearly quite a full-on period for me, and so I'm trying to still come and share with you, but just know it's intense over here. Life is intense. I keep removing toys from Milo so that he doesn't like run everywhere, but it's not stopping. It's chaos. It's chaos around me. But let me grab my list of everything I have been sewing and let's look at this together. So I have made 9 things this autumn. In the 9 things, 3 things were for me, 2 things were presents, 2 things were costumes, and 2 things were costumes slash for Milo. And I also did one little alteration for Legally Blonde. I will chat about it, but I haven't really counted it as an extra thing because it was very small, you'll see. Just showing you the view I have from where I am, being very closely watched. And I will finish with a bunch of announcements as well at the end. I'll do all of the housekeeping at the end of the video. So we are starting with sports shorts I have made copied from one of my favorite pairs of shorts. So it's really weird because I know you just saw this video, but for me it's a project I've done quite a while back now, and I didn't wear them a ton because it wasn't so warm anymore. Obviously we went into autumn. Finalizing the video and putting it online kind of reminded me I had those shorts, and I've been wearing them when I worked out at home a little bit. But yeah, so I have made those shorts. Looking at them now, I'm still a bit torn if it's worth making your own or not. I see some details that are not perfect and that kind of like, oh, would I really like wear them out? Like, yeah, after making them I was super excited and I actually wore them out. So we went by bike to somewhere to have a walk with Milo and my wife, and I felt fine being out in the street with them, but now I re-put them on. I don't know. So yeah, I'm really on the fence as to like, are they a success or not, because yeah, there are some mistakes in them, but it was really fun to make them. It felt really powerful at the time, so let's still call them a win. After the shorts, I made my Persephone pants, which I'm wearing right now, and I also had, oh my god, all the projects I made were so frustrating at that period. I got pretty frustrating making those pants. I really like them. I wear them quite a lot. The only thing I will say is that I really don't vibe with the pockets. So the pockets are just here, but they're way too small to put kind of like anything in. Also, because there's this opening when I kind of like pull my pants up after I go to the bathroom or something, just putting them on, it kind of like opens and moves in a weird way, and I think if I were to remake them I would definitely just skip the pockets altogether. But if I have to say, do I think those are worth it, especially the extra faff that it is not having an extra side seam? That shape on the leg is very flattering, so that I can't fault them for. It is flattering and you do feel nice wearing those pants, but because there's no side seams, the pockets are not ideal. And yeah, I feel like if you could have this shape but with a side seam, so it facilitates your construction, and you can have pockets in the side seams, I feel like it would just be better. So yes for the shape, yes for how much I wear them, but they're definitely not a like 10 out of 10 pair of pants for me. But I was very interested to try them on as a curvier person, because I really felt like everyone was so tall and lean on Instagram wearing those, and I was like, I want to see someone who's less tall and less lean wearing them. And actually when I put them on, I'm like, oh, I'm team tall and lean, and so actually it kind of makes me feel like maybe they make you look tall and lean. So definitely a very flattering shape, but everything I mentioned about it. If you want to see me suffer making them, there's a whole video where I do a lot of complaining. And those pens were actually one of the only 2 projects from my list at the end of the last video I made, where I kind of listed all of the projects of what I wanted to make, and this was one of them. I then made a gathered skirt, and the gathered skirt came about because basically I got very influenced by watching Sydney Graham. If you hang around sewing YouTube, you probably have seen her as well. And honestly, I really love the personality. I really like her more chatty videos. In the first videos on her channel, it was more tutorials and things and less interesting for me to watch. But then as it moved on, she had a nice like Q&A and like very long videos and nice to watch while you're sewing. It's also just like really relaxing and lovely videos to watch. In any case, I got influenced and I wanted to also make a gathered teed skirt because that's very much her look. I wanted to put my own spin on it because I had very specific measurements I had in mind for that skirt. And also I wanted to present kind of like to beginners how to do French seams, and especially make French seams in pockets, which I think is something that's not so easy to find on YouTube, and I wanted to make that tutorial accessible and show that you don't need a serger. I feel like I'm really preaching French seam team here because everyone on YouTube seems to be using a serger, and I'm like, you don't need a serger. And I feel like the only reason people are convinced that, like, now I'm gonna go on my soapbox, but like people are really so pro sergers, and I'm like, the only reason you think it looks so polished is because that's what is in ready to wear. But like, how is a serge seam looking more polished than a French seam? I refuse. French seams all the way. So I mean, I'm saying things jokingly because after that video where I put French seams on the pockets, people were like, oh my god, you really like put French seams everywhere, including on the ruffle of that skirt. And yes, French seams everywhere. That aside, I got influenced by Sydney Graham and her amazing style. Just love the way she dresses and everything. I think she just looks like such a lovely human being. So I made a gathered skirt, etc. Wanted to do the French seam, etc, etc. Like, I still really believe in the tutorial because I wanted to present that French seam thing and everything. But I hated the skirt. I hated it from the moment I finished it. I knew I would never wear it, and I knew I would recut the fabric into something else. Sorry, I had a little postman break. Sorry. Okay, where was I? Basically, I knew I would not wear this skirt, and I felt really bad because I was like, is it fair to put up a tutorial about something I do not like? And having thought a lot about it, I was like, well, I really stand behind the technique I present with the French seamed pocket. I really stand behind the proportions I present, and also I was really feeling passionate about explaining to you how to make your own and kind of like the choose your own adventure part of the skirt. I really wanted to kind of empower you to make your own and change it the way you would like if you would want to make a skirt yourself. So I really stood behind all that. The only thing I didn't like was the fabric I chose. It was way too structured, and it really made for an unflattering gather, I found, because the fabric was too stiff. The way the gathered was just didn't work for me. And also, and that's very personal, but I put it on and it just reminded me of all those costumes we had as kids in dance shows. You know, before you are an older kid who deserves good costumes, you just got those gathered skirts as dance costumes, and I really put it on, and that is all I could see. And I was like, I know there's no way I'm wearing this, like I just know it. So I made the gathered skirt, I made a tutorial. I still really stand by this tutorial, but the skirt is going to be cut into pieces and reused into something else, which in the end is a bit of a shame because obviously you waste some fabric by cutting it already a little bit, but you live and you learn. I mean, that's just how it is. But just so you know, to be fully transparent, the skirt and I are not having a happy ever after moment. After that, I made another one of my paintbrush wrap. I have a tutorial for that as well. I also stand by it. And actually we had a birthday, and I knew that the girl who had her birthday was doing crochet, and I was like, you know what? Paintbrush wrap could be very easily a crochet hook wrap. So I took some of my wife's crochet hooks and kind of like sewed the size and everything, and in a couple of hours a birthday present was ready. So a very, very good one. Actually, here you are. If you have a Christmas need, you could do a little wrap for someone. If you have someone who likes to draw and you need a wrap for their pencils, for their paintbrushes, for their crochet hooks, for their circular knitting needle tips, you could make wraps for so many things, and I really stand behind this tutorial, and I made one and I thought it was a really nice present. You also just feel like really, again, like the magic of sewing, when it's like, I need a present, a few hours and you have one, and that's very satisfying. And I find that it's always lovely to offer something you've made to someone. And talking about offering something you've made for someone, the second project that actually was in my plans at the end of the last video was the twist front blue leotard, and I was so happy with this project. It was fairly easy to make I do know that I have rose tinted glasses towards the past, always. That's one of my issues. I always feel like everything was easier than it was. So maybe if you actually watch the video, you're gonna be like, wow, you complained the whole time. It didn't look so easy. My memory from it is that I had a good time and that it wasn't too hard, because in the end I had all of my friends' measurements, I knew what to do, I had already worked with Lycra, it wasn't not my first leotard anymore. I had to think a little bit about how to make the twist, but it was not so complex. Like, I was just a little bit like, whoa, there's definitely brain action happening, but I'm not against a little bit of brain action. So I made this wrap, I offered it for her birthday, and she was so happy. I don't know, it was just a nice thing to, you know, surprise someone for their birthday. And I really like the color as well. I know she doesn't wear like crazy things to ballet class, so I tried to keep it kind of toned down, but yeah, I was really happy with this present. She said that she always has compliments when she wears a red one already, and that I should really have cards to like hang out to people, because she's basically a living advertisement for my sewing. Just wanted to mention, I have offered the 2 Leotard to her, but don't forget that you can't actually commercialize any pattern that you don't have commercial rights to. When you buy a pattern, it's for home sewing, it's not to make a business. Because obviously it's very nice that everyone likes the leotards I make, but they're not my pattern, so it's not like I can make, you know, some for her whole dance class. Just re-putting it out there, I feel like it's never mentioned too often. But yeah, blue leotard, it was nice. It's nice to make projects for other people. I love sewing for other people. So yeah, that was the other one ticked off the list. And then we arrive into the Legally Blonde category. And it started with a pink fur coat. I will put all of the videos down below, so if you want to catch up or see the original video for anything, it's all going to be down below. But basically, I was one time late night scrolling on my phone and I had found this pink faux fur. I sent it to the lead of Legally Blonde and I was like, what about I make a pink faux fur coat for Milo? And she said, of course, I would like one to match him. And then, you know, it kind of went, and then it was like, well, the photo shoot for Legally Blonde is on Sunday. It would be amazing to have this coat for Sunday. So I bought the fabric on Thursday night and I sewed it between Thursday night and Sunday morning. So that was 2.5 days from the moment the fabric reached my house to make it. I copied one of her jackets for it. I didn't trace a pattern or anything. It was very, in a sense, scary, but in a sense magical as well to see it come together. And super happy with this project. If you want to see me do a ton of hand sewing, you can watch that video. Still not a fan of hand sewing, but I really see its use. And I'm grateful to have been learning this at school and to already be able to have such a nice, more couture finished in my garment. I don't know, it feels really nice to be able to up the level of what I do. As I've already chatted quite a bit about the jacket in the video about it, I'm trying not to, you know, go on too long about it. But I was very pleased with it. So bright, burned my retinas, but it looked great on stage as well. And I believe the lead actually kept the jacket afterwards. Sometimes people try to like sneak one of their costumes back for themselves, and I believe she kept the jacket. Afterwards, I made Milo's cast t-shirt. So that's not a costume, but that is the t-shirt for the musical, and I wanted him to have one fitting him. And it's so cute because obviously my wife has one, I have one, and he has one too. And I made the most of this to make a quick little tutorial on how to adapt a t-shirt for a dog. So yeah, not too tricky a project, quite quick quite satisfying. You end up with a cute t-shirt for a dog. To be honest, now I don't know. I mean, he's probably never gonna wear it anymore, and there's probably a bit of waste there, but fear not, with school I literally always need new raw materials, so it's going to be used in my school life. The fabric is not going to just go to the bin, so not to worry there. But yeah, he's so cute in his pink t-shirt. It was so nice. Next up, we're staying in the Milo sewing, and we had Milo's pink fur coat finally, and I really thought, how am I going to make this fur coat? So if you are on my channel since basically the start, this is amongst one of my first videos, I have made 2 coats for Milo, and the way they work is that you slip his head in, and then you have the back lying on his back, and the front comes like here and velcros in his back. And that was a shape, but I really wanted that coat to look like a cropped coat, and if I use that pattern for the dog coat I have, wouldn't have looked like a cropped coat. So I did a lot of thinking about it, and in the end I decided that I would simply copy the cast t-shirt shape I had for him, because I knew I had left ease in it so that he could move. I basically cut that out, left a little flap on the side, and then finished everything up with bias binding. Oh my god, bias binding. We had a whole day of bias binding at school, and just before that day I had done the coat, the pink coat, where all the seams are finished with bias binding inside. And then afterwards I did Milo's coat, where everything is also finished with bias binding, and oh my god, by the end I couldn't see bias binding anymore. No more, please. So I made that coat. I feel like the fact that the bias binding is so visible is a bit of a shame on his side. I find that make him look a little bit like a handbag, but honestly on stage it worked. The audience always had a good reaction where Elle Woods comes on stage in her pink jacket and Milo is like matching her. It's quite a look, and I thought it was really the nice extra little touch. And originally I couldn't really make the collar fit on that coat. It wasn't working, it was way too tight. Like I had to cut one of the collars straight off Milo's head. Never do this, you know, without being extremely cautious, but basically I was trying the collar on, I slipped it on, and it slips on fine because the ears are going the right direction, but trying to get it off, the ears were blocking the collar. And I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna strangle this dog trying to get the collar off. So I actually cut the collar straight off him. Very carefully, obviously, but so I was like, the collar's not working, I don't want to push the dog any further because he's being so patient already. Let's stop it there. But then every time he wore the coat, and Elle Woods has this cropped coat with a collar, and he didn't have a collar, I was like, it's missing something. So I ended up adding the collar, and by that point I was really rocking the vibe of people are far away, they can't see the details, just go for it. And so I just sewed the collar, and then I basically placed it on top. It's basically sewed on top, appliqued on top, that's just what it is. But then having the extra collar, it did make the neckline a bit too tight, and then Milo was really struggling going in and out of the coat, and he was not enjoying that. So then I created a slit here. I just basically cut into the coat, put bias binding around that cut, a third color of bias binding because by that point I had run out of all of the ones I had before, and created that little slit, allowing him to breathe. You can't see it anyway because that is drowned in the white fluff around his neck. And that was finally it for the coat. He has a collar, is matching Elle Woods, and it looked very nice, but the dog was a bit fed up with me by the end. And the very last thing I made this season was the wrap dress that Elle Woods wear when she arrives on stage at the first moments of the show. And if you know the show, she has a quick change and she has her engagement dress underneath this wrap dress. So basically they had a wrap dress that they liked the shape of, but it was blue, and so they wanted me to make a more Elle Woods version of it. So we went to the fabric store, we looked at everything, and it was very hard to find a jersey that would be the right color of pink. They were quite sure that they wanted jersey for it because basically the quick change is so fast, it's kind of being pulled in every direction, and they were scared that a woven would just rip. So jersey it was, but it was very hard to find the right pink jersey. And in the end, while at the fabric store, we saw this sweater fabric that was light gray with pink flowers on it, and I was like, from far away this literally looks like pink lace. And the motif was also a bit bigger, which compared to smaller florals that were in the store, I found looked a lot better from further away as well. And so we just bought sweater material to make this dress, but honestly, if you are not aware of it and if you are in the audience, you couldn't tell. And I've copied a wrap dress. So I have to say, copying a jacket was one thing, because a jacket is a fairly boxy shape. But the wrap dress was a bit of a pain because it has ruching in the back, it had ruching bits here, and I basically tried to simplify it as much as possible. I also altered a little bit the panels and everything because we wanted it to cross a little bit further here to make sure that the second dress would not peak here. So I altered the angle here. I took 1.5 centimeters in on the shoulder to make sure the other pink dress would not show up here. Whole thing, I basically sewed it in, I think, 6 hours. Went to the lead's house, we tried it on, we saw that there was a few issues. For example, the original wrap dress was in a much flowier jersey, which meant that it crossed over more, and here, because the sweatshirt was quite stiff, it didn't cross over as far, and we were scared that the second dress would show. So I came back home and I sewed basically an extra panel at the front. And in a total of 6.5 hours, we had this wrap dress ready to start the show, and it was fine, and in the end it sewed really quickly. It was such a comfortable fabric to sew with because it was lightly stretchy but also very stable, so an absolute pleasure to work with. I sewed it just a few days before we had our last rehearsals, and then the last rehearsals were at the start of show week, so was cutting it a bit fine, but in the end it sewed very easily and very quickly, so we were all good with the wrap dress as well. Oh yeah, and then also the engagement dress that was underneath the wrap dress, it was decided that the lead would wear it inside out because the color of the lining was much nicer than the color of the outside. And so actually we needed to remove just the tags. The tags at the top was fine, you just unpick it carefully and that was done. But the tag in the seam, I wanted it really well done, and so I decided to unpick the seam where the tag was, to fully remove the tag, and then to re-sew the seam and refinish the seam allowance as well. I mean, it's just like, for just removing a tag, you normally would just cut whatever sticks out, but here I wanted it really well done, so I actually unpicked, removed, and then re-sewed it. And yeah, so that was an extra little job I did for Legally Blonde. I realized I forgot to tell you I also made a bow for Milo. I didn't put it in my finished product, just like the dress I removed the tag from. I think it's too small to really count as a project, but I also made a bow for Milo because for the graduation scene, I wanted him to have a little something special so that he would look dressed up for graduations. So with leftover faux fur, I made him a big bow that you would stick into his harness, and it worked quite well. So I also made a big bow, and just in the little details of his costumes. So we bought a pink leopard harness, a bright pink leash, and actually when I was doing my interview at C'est du Joli, Eugénie gave me a bright pink pom-pom, and so I think that completes the look super well. So thank you, Eugénie, for the pom-pom. Yeah, I think he looked really great with the pink pom-pom and everything. I think it had a really nice completed look for the stage. That's it for everything I sewed. Let's look at my plans. I have started, by the way, my little You Can Make Anything notebook. Oh my god, I don't want to just repeat everything I've said a million times because basically the same projects have been on my list for so long. But I think what I have not mentioned, I have mentioned it a million times. I still need to make one swimsuit for one of my friends. It just took so long to get her measurements, but I now have them, so I'm going to make this swimsuit for her. During the summer, you saw me making the swimsuits for the other friends, but last swimsuit for a friend I'm making. I also bought corduroy fabric. I think you saw that in a previous video as well, but that was basically like, I'm cold, I want corduroy fabric, and I'm going to try to make Dialara pens that are following me everywhere on Instagram, and I really want to make a dupe of them, but kind of a dupe, my own dream version of that dupe. So at some point I hope to have time to make those and be cozy. That I've already mentioned. Everything else I've already mentioned. The only thing I have not mentioned is that I also want to make myself pajamas. I have 2 pairs of pajamas, so basically one in the wash, one on me, but just sometimes if the wash doesn't follow up quickly enough, I find that 2 pairs is cutting it a tiny bit too fine sometimes. So I just wanted to make myself an extra pair of pajamas. And I also have a project bag that I'm making. You shall know more about it in Friday's video. And I have a tiny bit of the pink faux fur left, and I want to make a small project to offer to 2 friends. I need to see how it works, but I'm going to try to make that work. So that's basically all of my plans. The rest has basically not changed. Patina, palissade, the shirt, like everything is the same on my list. I just have to accept that it's a season of life where I don't have really the time to sew what I want. So let's not, you know, dwell too much on this. I'm just not going to repeat the list because it's starting to be a bit depressing. But if you want to know what's on my list, go and watch the last video and you'll see everything that's still on there. So let's go into the announcement section. The first thing is that I would like to make a video about what's on your Christmas wish list. And I would like to make this video fairly soon so that maybe you can get inspired by other people's wish list for your own Christmas list. So basically, let me know in the comments what's on your Christmas sewing wish list. And I would love to make a little chatty video about that. That's the first thing. So pause the video, go in the comment, let me know what's on your Christmas wish list. Christmas wish list. Second, I'm doing Vlogmas. I am doing some sort of Vlogmas. Basically, every Friday video will be a tiny weekly Vlogmas, and I'm gonna try to bring some festive cheers to you guys and to myself as well. I quickly wanted to say, because in the end, I wasn't sure how much I would be able to vlog or anything at Legally Blonde. The answer was not at all. I mean, I don't have any footage, I don't have anything to share. I still wanted to say it was a great show, it was an amazing show week, it was all together really nice, but it was a very different experience. I had obviously done shows in the past, but never with my dog. And I have to say, normally you're kind of thinking of yourself, of your routine, of your song, of your costumes. But here I was thinking about Milo a lot, making sure that he was fine, making sure that he wasn't alone in the change rooms too long, making sure that he wasn't getting stepped in the wings, making sure that he was on stage at the right time, making sure that the person I was giving him to had treats for him. It was just a lot. I feel like the mental load of having him was more than I expected. Also just because I'm a person who worries in general. I feel like my wife found it a lot easier because she's a lot more easygoing, but like I just always think of, you know, everything that could happen, and I just want it to be a good experience. And it was truly something, because every time we would arrive at the theater, we would find the girl he would have his scene with and practice, and the dog knew what he had to do. Go on stage, bark, leave stage. And he did it really well. I will quickly put a little show of like pre-show practice. So it's basically we arrive at the theater, we practice, and then an hour later we're on stage doing the real thing.
Where is it? She doesn't. Totally freaked. She's trapped in the Old Valley Mill. Whoops, sorry. The Old Valley Mall. Let's go.
So you can see, like, he knows he's meant to bark. And then for every show, he basically did little improvs, and the girl never knew what he was about to do that night. So he did little roles, one night he played dead. So I'm just going to show you. You can't hear the dialogue as much because this has been filmed from the green rooms, so it's not the best quality, but you can still see what he's been doing on stage and how people react to him. It was always super stressful to be like, what is he going to do tonight? Is he going to do his scene? Is he going to be fine? But generally he did really well. He was such a trooper. I think by the last show you could see he was getting tired and basically would arrive on stage and hope to leave. But he did really, really well. I'm happy it finished when it did, because I could feel he was getting tired and I didn't want to push him too much. But yeah, it was nice, and it was nice to have everyone say how cute he is and how nice he is. Basically, after the show, we would go out and he would get pats from everyone leaving the theater, and he loved it. So yeah, that was something. I just kind of want to acknowledge it was a fun experience, but it was tiring in a way as well. If you are thinking of including your dog in a show, it is a lot just because you want the best for them and you want to make sure they're fine. And I find that it was still quite a bit. Now show week is finished, and as I came out of show week, I basically am arriving straight into exams, and with the show I was pretty busy, didn't have time to do any preparation for anything. So now I'm going full on exam, and I think I would have liked to rest after show week, but there's no rest, it's straight into exams. So I'll just finish this video saying thanks to Lily for tipping me a coffee once more. Thank you so much, Lily. And actually, no, this reminds me, I mean, it's because Lily is the one who's been chatting and kind of gave me the idea of starting a Discord. So thanks, Lily, for the tip of starting a kind of like sewing club, which ended up being the Discord, and thanks for the tip, coffee tip. So if you want to join a really nice sewing community, I have a Discord channel which is called the Strawberry Field, and you can join and come and hang out with us. And actually first I was a bit like, oh my god, an extra thing to manage, and is it going to be fine? But I actually love it on Discord because I find that on Instagram there's too many ads every time I go, and especially ads that are really well targeted to me, so it's always a bit tempting to look at the ads, but also it's just you can scroll forever. And so actually when I have been like end of the day wanting to kind of like plonk somewhere and scroll, instead of going on Instagram, I've been going on the Discord and seeing what you guys have been sewing and kind of like seeing the little conversations that are happening on there. And you have really been loving it because it's more finite than Instagram where you can scroll and scroll forever. And yeah, it just feels like a nice little group. So if you want to join our sewing community on Discord, it's called the Strawberry Field. There's a link down below and you can join us there. Okay, I chatted enough. I need to go back to studying for my exams. I will see you very soon. Thank you so much for watching the videos and for your support in general. And don't forget that you can make anything. Bye! And this is something I was going to show you, and then I realized I forgot to mention it, but I thought, let me put it here, this way I do not talk about Legally Blonde anymore after this, and I stop annoying you with this. In case you were interested in seeing the skipping, so my wife was in the first part of the skipping, the video section of the skipping, and I was skipping in the second part. I can't put the original music for copyright reasons, so enjoy random music that goes with this. But basically, if you're looking for me, I'm there. That's where I am. And actually on that night, you couldn't tell because I keep a big smile on no matter what, but I actually pulled my calf during the skipping and I was in a ton of pain. I had really not stretched and warmed up enough properly. Like, I don't know if you see like in the show, you kind of like go, and I didn't take the time to warm up. And at 31, I can't not warm up anymore. This is a very bad idea. I was in a lot of pain on stage. I was doing some Irish dancing later on in the show, so I basically had a physio massage my calf for a little bit, took paracetamol and then went back to dancing. But that evening, the next morning, and for all the shows after that, I warmed up and I stretched and I did all of the things to preserve my calf. I'm sorry, I always digress so much, but all that to say, I just wanted to show you the skipping in case you were interested. And thank you so much if you are still here for the little bonus section of the video. I'll see you next time, and now let's get whipped into shape.